Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, folks, for joining for May's Advocate Network meeting. Our goal, as every month, is to make sure that our Advocates Network creates a space for us to continue to build community and build the movement for public education across the state so that we can take action together. And there is a lot that we're doing to take action right now. For folks who are already knowing that you want to join us for next month's Advocates Network meeting, I'm going to drop a link for that in the chat. If you're watching this recording online, this is also available on the page where you found this recording. So let me just grab my link for y'all and feel free to pop that open and register for next month, which is going to be on June 14th, the second Tuesday, from 4:30 to 5:30. If you registered for today's meeting, you do need to register for next month. It's a monthly registration. While we come together, just want to create a space for learning and building community. So asking folks to move up and move back, you'll have the chance to chat with others in a small group here in just a minute. So be able to share your thoughts and your opinions and also make space for others to do the same. Together, we're really trying to build this learning community so that everyone can contribute. Not everyone knows everything, but together we know a lot. And so just if you have information you'd like to offer up or share, we invite you to do so. We're also coming from different parts of the state, different walks of life, but we all care about the same issue, a more adequate and equitably funded public school system in Colorado. So presuming that positive intent and shared value, but acknowledging that we may have some unintended impacts on others. And so if you receive feedback from folks, we hope that you'll know that that is in the spirit of building a stronger movement. And also want to start off with as we come together in this virtual space, we're all calling in from different parts of Colorado, where we are on the historical territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. And so Great Ed wants to take a moment to recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to Colorado. And as we advocate for a more adequate and equitable public school system for all of our students, we hope that we can honor the past, current, and future contributions of Indigenous communities across our state and fight for a public education system that really supports all of our students. So with each month, we do a little listening first, listening to each other, have that opportunity to connect with folks and learn a little bit more about others who are joining the space. Then I'll share a little presentation where we've got lots of updates for y'all about Initiative 63 and where we're at in getting that petition gathering process up and running. And then we'll end today with our call to action. How can you support school funding today? So as we just wrapped up Teacher Appreciation last week, want to ask folks to think about this question or this prompt. Would love for you to talk about an educator that you appreciate. And I'm going to use the word educator because there are a lot of folks who work with our students every day, our classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, food service workers, bus drivers, social workers, counselors, lots of folks who are providing that educational support for our students. So I want you to think about an educator that you appreciate and share that with the folks in your group. Bonus if they are a Colorado educator. So while y'all think about that educator that you appreciate and who you want to share, I'm going to get our breakout rooms together. And once you see that invite to go to your breakout room, you're going to have about 4 or 5 participants in your breakout room. And I'm going to ask you for the next couple of minutes to talk about an educator that you appreciate. Those rooms should be open. And we'll see you back in about 5 or 6 minutes. If you don't see a little pop-up on your screen, you can click on breakout rooms on the bottom of your screen, and it'll show you where to join. And great. So folks in our breakout rooms, we're talking about an educator that you appreciated. And to just start off, would love to have 1 or 2 folks share 1 or 2 sentences about the educator that you talked about. And I'll pull the slides down so that we can see each other. 1 to 2 sentences about the educator that you are appreciating today. Who'd like to start?
Well, this is Jan. I'll say something that I thought of after I talked about a teacher. We have people that came back to District 11 to get us through this troubling time through June 30th. And a superintendent, deputy superintendent, and a CFO, they're all teachers in my mind, and they're coming back and doing what's the good work.
Awesome. Thank you. Others? Feel free to just come off mute.
This is Nancy Todd, and I'll just jump in. Kathy Daly was a excuse me, a journalism teacher at Overland High School, and both of our boys had the opportunity to have her as a teacher. One of the things that was so incredible about her is that she started giving that transition into what is it like after high school while they were still in high school. Had a great impact, positive, wonderful, wonderful teacher.
Awesome. One more. Let's get one more.
Well, I didn't pick any one particular teacher, but I'm in a number of schools with the ADL's No Place for Hate program, and I just commend those teachers that are working with students to make the school a better place, to address the bigotry and bullying that the kids see, and to empower the kids to solve these problems. And they just do. And this is above and beyond their normal duties.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. I want to give folks a challenge by choice. If the educator that you just talked about in your small group, if you're able to reach out to them, maybe it's on Facebook, a text message, an email, and share what you just shared with others, especially if they are still in the classroom or working today. Our educators are in the final countdown of this school year, and it has been a challenging year. And so just if you can still appreciate that educator, especially if they're in the classroom in a school in a district right now, highly encourage folks to do so. But also kind of two things. I was watching a video on Facebook thinking about Teacher Appreciation Week, and a teacher said, you know you're working in a hard field when you need an appreciation day or an appreciation week, right? And the other piece of that is Teacher Appreciation Week can be so much more than just 1 week. And there are so many things that we're working on to try to appreciate our educators, again, educators broadly. And one of the ways that we're going to talk about that tonight is our advocacy as a way to appreciate our educators. And I just want to shout out Colorado PTA that during Teacher Appreciation Week was doing a campaign, Say It With Signatures, collecting signatures to support Initiative 63 in a way that will help us better attract, retain, and compensate teachers and student support professionals. Because the opportunity that we have in front of us beyond just giving that appreciation during 1 week of the year is that without raising taxes, we can put nearly $900 million into our P-12 public schools to attract, retain, and compensate our school staff who deserve our appreciation and support. And so while we jump into our Learn section today, I'm going to give a few landscape updates. I'm going to do a ledge recap in quotes. There's 1 day left in the legislature. I'm going to share just very high level spark notes of what's coming out of the legislature and what the impact is on school funding. And then we're also entering a really important time where it's becoming a little bit more clear what our ballots are going to look like in November. So I'm going to do a little bit of just an update of the landscape and what folks might want to know about. Then we are off to the races gathering signatures for Initiative 63. I'm going to talk about all of the resources that are available for our volunteers, whether you're interested in volunteering, whether you're already volunteering, and then some future volunteer opportunities at the end of this month. And that will be our call to action for this evening. So high level, one thing that I'm going to loop into our legislative recaps for today is over the course of April and into May, the State Board of Education changed the timeline for the social studies standards review process. Our social studies standards are up for review, and there are a few years worth of bills that are about better including more diverse perspectives and contributions to our history standards and updates to our social studies, civic standards, and our Holocaust and genocide standards. And so the State Board of Education was on a timeline to review and approve new standards by May or June of this year. And we'll be taking more public feedback and a longer time to review the standards. And that's been moved to November and December. But there is an opportunity that we've heard about from our partners where you can take an online survey to provide some of your feedback on this question: should public school curriculum address the history of race and LGBTQ people in the US? This is a group of researchers out of CU Boulder's School of Education, and they are really trying to understand the connection of public perception and policy implementation. And so we just thought that this was a great group of folks to potentially take this survey and provide your thoughts and feedback. So I will make sure that by the end of today, I get this link dropped into the chat. Let me see if I can actually just grab it here from my notes. Sorry, y'all. I'm missing one of our teammates who's my Zoom guru. So as I continue to use all the windows, here is a link to that survey. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes, but it would be a great opportunity for folks to add your thoughts and your feedback about how you're feeling about the current situation that we're navigating through. When it comes to school finance coming out of the legislature, one of the things that we see is that the budget stabilization factor, the BS factor, or the borrowing from students factor, will subtract about $321 million from school funding this year. And there is money that was put into reserves to try to maintain that level for next year as well. However, there are no promises on being able to reduce the BS factor beyond this with ongoing inflation and the situation in Ukraine. So just another, we are still not able to buy down the BS factor in our current state. Another reason why Initiative 63 could be really impactful for our schools. One positive thing coming out of the legislature this year, though, is about $80 million in additional resources for special education. But while that's an important step forward, there are still about $600 million in costs that districts have that they're using general fund dollars for uncovered costs for special education. So improvement, absolutely, but not a solution to all of the costs that we want to make sure we're spending on providing an equitable and accessible education for students who qualify for special education services. Also this year in the legislature, the legislative working group on school finance put together a working group to study some of the recommendations of how to change the at-risk factor in the formula. Right now, Colorado uses free and reduced price lunch participation numbers to measure the at-risk part of the formula. But there are lots of reasons why the legislature is looking to change that measure, to have a better measure that more accurately identifies students, that relies less on paper forms. And also over the last couple of years, districts haven't been required to collect those forms because Congress provided universal school meals. And so wanting to modernize, update, and make more equitable our at-risk factor. I'll pause there to see if folks have any questions. If I am not the best person to answer your question, I will find the answer and someone who is better. But any quick questions about this piece here? I see a raised hand. Yeah, go for it, Evie. And you are muted.
Okay, so there is a bill that is a compromise on property tax amounts because there were these ballot issues that were going to cap property taxes, and the governor and the legislature worked out a compromise so those ballot issues will be withdrawn, but it lowers property taxes. And so by lowering the local share, that would increase the state share. And I'm wondering if that could impact the negative factor in the future.
That is a great question. I am going to loop that update into our ballot landscape since those measures will no longer be on there, but that is a fantastic Spark Notes version of that bill, Senate Bill 238. Right now, what we understand is with its current funding conditions, the legislature has set aside money in reserves to try to maintain the BS factor at the $321 million. But we do know that the more pressure we put on the general fund, the more likely it is for the legislature to use the BS factor. And so that is something that we'll definitely be watching for, but not something that we've necessarily heard directly that this will for sure impact the BS factor, but it is likely and possible. Lisa, is there anything you would add?
No, just when you take $700 million over a couple of years out of local funding, it's going to have an impact. And it's, I guess, the long-term outlook is that this compromise is supposed to put off a long-term solution to the property taxes and the rapid increase in values. And that long-term deal that is made, that solution is also going to probably have an impact on education funding. So this is not the end of it, but it is good to have those off the ballot.
I think that's a great transition into what we understand about the current ballot landscape as well. So the property tax measures, the caps on property tax measures that Evie was just talking about have been withdrawn as part of a compromise with the legislature like we were just discussing. So while property taxes aren't looking like they will be on the ballot this year, we already know that an income tax reduction has qualified for the ballot. When we lower income taxes, that is less money that goes into our state's general fund. And so as you can hear, if we're lowering property taxes, lowering income taxes, none of that is a good thing for schools. And so we'll be really encouraging folks to pay attention to that income tax reduction, and we'll be chatting with folks about how we can defeat that measure. Other things that we're seeing removed from the ballot is, and actually there is someone on this call who's been involved with this very directly, is there was a challenge to a ballot measure that would have required basically a catalog of curriculum materials, teacher lesson plans, professional development, all coming out of this anti-CRT disinformation kind of movement. And so that ballot measure did not get to keep its title. And thanks to folks on this call who were working on getting that off of the ballot. Some things that we're hearing from our partners that are things that we just that we know are also shaping up for the ballot is a ballot measure will go to voters this year, asking voters to approve universal school meals for all Colorado students by reducing the amount of deductions that income earners over $300,000 can claim on their taxes. So reducing those deductions in order to provide free meals for all of Colorado students. So we'll keep you informed about that ballot measure and keep folks educated and updated. But as public education advocates, we thought you might be interested in knowing that that is headed to the ballot this fall. There's also a ballot measure that's coming out of the legislature that would require all of Colorado's ballots to include a table if there are income tax increases or decreases in future elections. Essentially, this is a ballot transparency bill. So if we're going to lower or raise our state income taxes, it would show voters based off of their income bracket whether or not they would be impacted by that tax change and how they would be impacted. And so in terms of having a more equitable tax structure and tax system, a more fair tax system, this is an important step forward to make sure that folks know when they're voting on income taxes, how does this impact me? And so that is going to be really, really important. We'll keep you updated about all things ballot, of course, but just wanted to share some of those updates with folks as well. I see a question in the chat. Does universal schools include private schools? It is universal for public schools. So this would be a program for all of Colorado's public schools and universal school meals for public school students. Any other questions, comments, reactions? Jerry, I think I saw you come off of mute, if that was accurate. Just was checking. All right. Well, as we continue to get closer to November, as we continue to analyze what happened in the legislature, we'll keep providing updates just like this in our Advocates Network meetings. And so I want to make sure that y'all are informed. So here's where I'm going to share a little bit about, just for folks who may be joining us for the first time, I'm going to transition and start talking a little bit about a ballot initiative that Great Education Colorado is working on with our partners called Initiative 63. Initiative 63 would provide $900 million of additional funding for P-12 public schools without changing our state's taxes or tax rates. We can do that by asking voters to dedicate 1/3 of 1% of taxable income into an account called the State Education Fund, which is protected from Tabor and required to be spent on our state's public schools. The ballot measure would allow us to keep and retain revenues in years where there might be Tabor rebates, but this would be every year ongoing. And those funds would be for attracting, retaining, and compensating teachers and student support professionals. Student support professionals are folks like food service workers, bus drivers, paraprofessionals, social workers, guidance counselors, school nurses, really anyone who's providing that support to our students in our school buildings. This is a requirement for the legislature to have these be supplemental dollars, not dollars that supplant current funding. So as we've started gathering signatures, some frequently asked questions so far is, well, why Initiative 63? Folks are really excited about the idea, but why are we running with this idea? What are we trying to do? Well, first and foremost, Colorado's teachers are the least competitively paid teachers in the country. That's right, we are dead last in teacher competitiveness pay. Teachers in Colorado have the largest wage penalty for being teachers in this state in any comparison to every other state in the country. There are nearly 3,000 positions unfilled before the pandemic, and this problem of critical staffing shortages in this state is getting more and more dire. Those 3,000 positions were teachers, bus drivers, food service workers, really the full spectrum of folks. About 1,000 of these people were licensed teachers. The other 2,000 folks were other staff. We're also looking at Initiative 63 for November this year because Colorado in the 2023-2024 school year will face two fiscal cliffs. One, the loss of federal COVID relief dollars, and two, the state is running towards a state budget deficit. So we want to provide schools and districts resources as soon as we can so that we can try to smooth out or avoid some of these cliffs. And we've watched over these last couple of weeks of the legislature that education aren't the only folks looking at the fact that our economy is booming. And there's a lot of political maneuvering happening around the surplus. And so wanting to really stake a claim and saying our students and our educators should thrive when our state thrives, we want to be able to promote that message and that choice for voters. I'll pause here to see if folks have any questions so far about Initiative 63 or some of the reasons that we are looking at Initiative 63 for this year. Go for it, Evie.
Okay, so explain why you say there will be a state budget deficit in 23-24.
Lisa, I could give you the spark notes, but Lisa can give you the details. So I see Lisa off of mute. Lisa, go for it.
I'll try to give spark notes. It's really a structural deficit. And it's because of Tabor that what we're allowed to retain in the out years is not enough just to cover basically inflation plus real inflation, like the cost of healthcare and energy that can outstrip the CPI, which is what Tabor limit is based on. But it's also caseload, and not just K-12, but what we're trying to accomplish in higher ed, caseload in Medicaid and prisons. And so when that we can't even keep up with that, with the Tabor surplus, with the Tabor limit, we do not have enough money to just keep where we're at on the growth of caseload there. So there's a structural deficit coming at the same time that we will have surpluses continuing to go out.
That is an important difference of phrases. So I own the mistake that this is state budget deficit and not structural budget deficit. So that is, thank you, Lisa, for clarifying. SparkNotes version of that is our state has a lot of financial commitments to people, our seniors, folks in our healthcare system, our kids, folks in corrections, that plus how bad inflation is getting and the cost to fund K-12 is tied to inflation. We're not going to have enough resources to be able to fund just our current commitments. And so that structural deficit is happening around 2023, 2024. But instead of focusing on the doom and gloom, we have a lot to celebrate. We had our first 1,000 petitions for Initiative 63 about 2 weeks ago. And already we have over 800 of those petitions checked out to volunteers. We have an order placed for another 1,000 petitions and just waiting for the call that they're ready to be picked up. We have about 120 volunteers gathering those signatures that we know of. We also have folks who are helping check out petitions and letting us know who those folks are. So this is just who we know is gathering signatures, but we know there are even more volunteers. And not only that, one of the things that I just want to shout out this group and just the history of grade ed is it only took us about a week or so to get petitions to 35 different locations across the state, as far southwest as Durango, all the way into Vail, the Vail Valley, down to Pueblo. Like our petitions are spread out across the state because we really have a network of folks ready to go to support our schools and educators. And so I'm just really excited to be able to witness this movement revive, come back together, and just build on the work that y'all have done in years past. From a volunteer in Arvada who was gathering signatures, just want to share a quote. A friend and I got almost 80 signatures in Old Town Arvada yesterday. This initiative is so easy to sell. Many people want to sign as soon as we say it's about teacher pay. I hope getting our required signatures is a slam dunk this year. And so with having petitions out just for the first couple of weeks, we are already hitting the ground running. And so I want to share a little bit about some of the resources that y'all have access to online so that you can get engaged or deepen your volunteering. And that is, we have on our Grade Ed Action website, which is different than our Great Education Colorado website. We have Initiative 63 fact sheets and FAQs. So if folks are asking questions about Initiative 63, they can check out that website. We have an event calendar where we are going to post events where you can bring a petition to gather signatures, where you can find training opportunities and more. Towards the end of May and towards the end of this meeting, I'll talk about it. We're doing a weekend of signing next weekend, May 20th through 22nd, and would love for folks to consider that opportunity. We have petition resources, so our volunteer guidelines, talking points, a script. How do you get your packet notarized? What are your training certificate? All of those things are available. And then if you are trying to get other folks in your life to carry signatures, or if you want your organization to weigh in and support, we have a pledge form where folks can pledge to carry a petition and a place for folks to show that they want to endorse Initiative 63. Over the course of this week, fingers crossed, we'll also be getting the Great Schools Thriving Communities website up and running. So our broader coalition will have all these resources as well. And so coming soon, you'll see that website. And so we'll have lots of digital resources available for folks about Initiative 63. So what I'd love to do is take a tour of this website so you can see where all of these things are and how you can get involved. So if you want to help other folks gather signatures, if you click on Initiative 63, there's a pledge form where folks fill out this information and let us know that they want to carry a petition, or if they are a notary or interested in any of these opportunities. Once they send this in, we check this daily so that we can connect folks with petitions, possibly mail them a petition, or get them set up to volunteer with any of these volunteer opportunities. On our homepage is where you can find some FAQs about Initiative 63, the fact sheet, and some of our volunteer resources. So lots of information right on our homepage, ready for you to download, ready for you to share with others. And this link, you can just send greatedaction.org. Great way to get folks information. The last piece I'll share is, again, our events calendar, and there are three types of events on our event calendar right now. One, are petition pickup locations. So if you click on a petition pickup, you'll be able to find a place to pick up a petition. We'll also have lists of folks that you can pick up petitions from on our website very soon. You'll find virtual training opportunities. So if you click on a virtual training opportunity, you can register for that training. But also know for petition gathering, you can attend a training, you can watch the training recording, which is linked here, or you can read the packet and sign the last page. There are lots of ways, depending on how much time you have, or whether you want to do it solo or with a community. The last thing you'll see on this calendar right now are bring your own petition events, opportunities that we're just looking all across to the state to see where there are community events happening. And if you have a petition, you can bring it to that location. It's not guaranteed that there will be a staff member from one of our organizations there to support, but an opportunity for you to know that there will be people gathering and an opportunity to gather signatures. So all of these resources are here on greatedaction.org. And coming soon, you will hear from us when the Great Schools Thriving Communities website has all of this information as well. So I think I saw a raised hand from Kelly, and then any other questions from folks. Go for it, Kelly.
So I got a petition.
Great.
If I want another one, do I have to fill out the form online every time?
So I am going to, hopefully in the next couple of days, we have all those 35 different pickup locations and points of contact. I'm going to get that list posted on our website. I'm like 99% ready to do that. And then so you can either request another petition through that form, or if there's someone near you, you'll have contact information, either a phone number, an email address where you can reach out to someone near you and arrange picking one up. Or you can come to the Great Ed office. So we'll have lots of options for you to pick up a new petition, and that'll get updated in our website soon.
So real quick, so I need one. We have a community event for our school off campus on Friday, where there's like 200 families. So we want to make sure we have plenty of petitions. So can I arrange to get, like, come to the office? I also brought it to the barbecue last week, so I almost filled out the first one. So I feel like I need more petitions than
Awesome. Yeah, and you are, where do you live?
I'm in Lakewood.
Oh, great. I'll send you, if you could just private message me your email, I'll send you a few names of folks who are near you, and you can arrange to pick up some petitions from them.
Perfect.
Lovely. Yay. Jerry.
Okay. So one, is there a pickup located in Boulder County? Are you aware?
There is. We have a few folks on this call as well who are petition pickups. So Martha, do you mind me having you reach out to Jerry and we'll get you a petition?
Yeah, I have one. It's almost full.
Great.
So that's why I want to know. The other question I have not yet heard anything from CEA about Initiative 63. Do you know where CEA stands on this thing?
So
yeah, they're for it. I contacted David Stewart and I haven't heard back from him. Oh, Colorado. I'm thinking Boulder. Sorry, go ahead. Jump ahead.
Yeah,
so
CEA.
we're still waiting to hear back from Colorado Education Association. We know that it's a crazy end of the year with the end of the legislative session. And so just waiting for folks to re-engage in our coalition meetings and give that an update. But as soon as we launch the Great Schools Thriving Communities website, we're going to have a list of folks who have currently endorsed. And so you'll be able to see our list of like public endorsements when we have that website up and running, and that's soon. And so for individual, I mean, if you want to reach out to folks you know and ask, but as far as we know, they haven't run that process yet. They handle bills and ballot measures differently.
Yeah, I can't imagine them not supporting it, but I would love for an official support to come out.
Absolutely. But yeah, we will be, as we get those endorsements, we will post endorsements from organizations on the Great Schools Thriving Communities website. We have a good starting lineup, and I'll wait to share that when we've got the website up and running, but we'll get that all out ASAP.
Cody, I have a question.
Yes, Jan?
It's nice to see the endorsement list posted. That wasn't there some time ago, but how do you add you as an endorser, like I'm sure Jeffco PTA is endorsing it and so is El Paso Council, but how do you add that?
Yep, we will have both the list of organizations that have endorsed and a form that organizations can fill out to let us know that they've endorsed, and then we'll add it after they've filled out that form. So both of those resources will be available on the website when we get it up and running. So if you are part of an organization or you want to ask an organization that you don't see on that website to endorse, that'll be an easy way to share the fact sheet and the endorsement page with them. All of those resources will be on our website. Also happy to support that as well in my role. Any other questions?
Cody, I have a question.
Great, Christy.
How is it best to get the information to teachers? I just had an inquiry from somebody in Gunnison who said that the teachers know very little about it, and without having the teachers union sending out the information, what is our best way? I know we can't go to a staff meeting and present it. Thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that we're hoping with the launch of both of these websites, that we can just make this more present on social media, more easily shareable, so that it's not attachments or other things. Like now we have websites and resources that we can easily share with folks. I think at this point, with it being the end of the year, it's getting out to kind of big events that aren't happening on campus, like graduations or end of year celebrations. And so being able to really be in community with teachers as well. And so just that opportunity, but having that website available, the websites available will really help us do social media as well. And so having that opportunity to push that out.
And just one more thing. CASB, I understand, is putting together a form resolution for our school boards. Any idea when that might be available? I know our superintendent and school board president would like to move on that.
Yeah, we've got a pending conversation with CASB, and so I'll add that to my questions there. Just transparently, we'll ask and just get caught up on that piece. So thanks we did do that during Amendment 73. We worked with about 50 local school boards to pass resolutions about if that measure would have passed, what would districts have committed to spending those resources on. We'd want to build on that success and more, so that folks really understand what will your district do to better attract, retain, and compensate teachers and student support professionals in your local community. And so that's something that we're really excited about. School districts tend to take a little bit of time off in the summer. And so I think that'll be something that will also kind of, just in terms of timeline, is a little bit farther out for us. But there is kind of a pause that districts will take over the summer. Maybe it's 1 or 2 months, but there is sometimes, or usually, that pause for school boards over the summer. Nora.
Yeah, just curious, because I'm getting completed notarized petitions in. Do you want those sent to you, or are you getting ready to provide us with that access to verify signatures? So I would just keep them here so we can get that next step done for you.
For now, generally, we're asking folks to return those packets to the mailing address on the front page of the packet after it's been notarized. But Nora, I want to tap offline for y'all. And I also want to give a shout out to Nora. Nora is one of our, and Jan are 2 of our points of contact in Colorado Springs that have petitions. So huge shout out to them for getting us rocking and rolling in El Paso. And Nora, I'll follow up with you about just the email that you sent me as well. So,
okay.
But for folks who, if you are an individual that has your packet and you're done with it, we will ask you to get that notarized and send it back to us. But Nora, I'll connect with you offline about the verification.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Vanessa, I can add that. Perfect. Any other questions, resources, volunteering? These have been really great questions so far. All right, well, I'm going to transition then into our calls to action. How can you take action between now and June to really help us continue to build this momentum? We are out in community talking about this initiative as often as possible to whoever wants to hear, both in person and virtually. In person where we can. We can't guarantee in person in all cases, but we can guarantee virtual presentation. So if you would like to sign up for a presentation, or if you want to share our presentation sign up link with organizations that you're involved with, groups that you're involved with, whether it's even just a neighborhood group of families that come together, or it's your friends or family and you want to share the information, we want to share the news about how can we better support Colorado teachers and educators. So you'll get the link to our presentation sign up form in the follow-up as well, but please make sure if you want to share this news with others, we're happy to come in and present. For folks who want to carry a petition, if you know any notaries who would volunteer, or if there are other volunteer opportunities that you want to check out, this petition pledge form is the place to go. Please fill out this petition pledge form so that we can send you a petition, connect you with someone who can get you a petition, or get you activated as a volunteer with one of the 5 opportunities that are currently listed. We also, if you are not able to carry a petition, if you are like one of many Colorado families right now, it's the end of the school year. There's a lot of things happening in the month of May, but you want to provide some support. We're asking for small donations into our issue committee. Each petition costs about $2.50 to print. So $10 helps us buy 4 petitions. $25 helps us buy 10 petitions. Really, any opportunity for us to continue to print and have those petitions available is super supportive. And it costs about $10 to support a volunteer, whether that's us mailing them their petition, making sure that they have the supplies, the badge, everything that they need. And so even $10 helps to sponsor a volunteer. So small donations can go a long way. And that is either here by scanning this QR code, or when you see these slides come out, you can click on that link. But giving is definitely a way that you can take action. And if that's an opportunity that you can consider, that is a meaningful way for us to support volunteers as well. And so with that, I'll just encourage folks to take some time to do your own tour of the Great Ed Action website. Again, fact sheets, FAQs, events, petition resources, the pledge form and endorsement form are all there. And you'll also find all of these materials coming soon to the Great Schools Thriving Communities website. Our next meeting is going to be on June 14th. I'll drop the link in again in the chat so that you can register and come back and check up. What have you been doing to help support Initiative 63, and what more can we still do? And so that's the every action link that you see in the chat. And coming soon, I will also share this in our follow-up email, but we are hoping to host a weekend of signing May 20th through May 22nd. This is an opportunity for folks to be able to let us know that you're going to have a petition, maybe at your local park or your community farmers market or outside of a grocery store or at the end of your driveway. And if you can have a petition available, we'll make sure that we communicate that across our coalition so that folks can come find you to sign your petition. And so just if this is of interest to you, be looking for directions and a sign up form to let us know that you want to participate in weekend of signing towards the end of this month. I see Christy and I see Kelly.
I just wanted to let people see in the chat that we've put out, I put out a call for donations, small donations, and that I will match up to $500. And then Martha also said she will do the same. So anybody who wants to jump in, I just want you to check out the chat, know that it's there.
Yes, thank you for doing that. And to make that even more accessible, what I'll do is I'll put the direct link to the donation page so that folks don't need to guess where that is. And thank you to Christy and Martha for that match opportunity. Here is the donation page. It is all online, so you're able to fill out that form, have your payment information, and thank you so much. That's very generous. Kelly.
Can you remind me and maybe other people, how many signatures are we going for and what is the deadline?
Great question. The drop dead deadline, we have to have everything cataloged, everything boxed, everything to the Secretary of State's office by August 8th.
Okay.
And so we will do different phases of verification, cataloging, all that good stuff between now and then. We're going to do our first soft callback of petitions at the end of this month so that we can see in our first month of petition gathering how many volunteers carried signatures, how many signatures did we get. During Amendment 73, we had about 1,200 volunteers gathering signatures, and we gathered about 100,000 signatures just through volunteers. For this year, we need to get at minimum 125,000 signatures to qualify this measure for the ballot. So typical practice is to collect more in case some of those signatures get rejected. So at a minimum, we need 125,000 to qualify. So we need to gather more than that in order to have a safe margin.
And that's
that
August
is
8th. You
August
said August
8th.
8th.
And so we'll likely wrap up petition gathering, push it out as far in July as we can into early August, but that last week or so is going to be us really getting everything prepared so we can get boxes and boxes of paper over to the Secretary of State's office. Thanks. Any other questions, comments? I'm seeing the chat, the power and community. Again, any small donation goes a long way. Each volunteer is about $10. Each petition is about $2.50. And we've got some folks matching. Lovely. Well, with that, I'll stick on the call if folks want to touch base, if you have any other questions. For folks who private messaged me in the chat, I'll be downloading those questions or those asks, including Kelly making sure I get you a packet. But really, if folks want to stay on with any questions or want to chat, we'll be here for a couple of minutes. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining today. Our next Advocates Network meeting will be on June 14th, but keep your eyes on that events calendar. So if there are other events that happen between now and our next Advocates Network meeting, you can join in. One of those first opportunities being our weekend of signing, May 20th through the 22nd. Have a wonderful day. And we got done a minute early, y'all. And so I'm going to stop the recording.